So Project 275 Plus is in full swing now. I did my preliminary test a few days ago, and I called that preliminary because I was just getting used to the bike, still had to do some tweaks with it. I've spent 4 days riding the bike now, and I'm very comfortable now on the 275 Plus. I feel like I'm cornering better on it, and I made some tweaks to it. I slid the rear dropout forward, which shortened the wheelbase, made the bike a little bit more playful. And I also remedied the slipping seat post issue. So now I feel like I can get out and do a cross-country lap and really feel confident in the time as it compares to the 29er on my local trails. As of right now, I still have tubes in the bike, but that's going to change in a few days. I'm going to try to convert the wheels to tubeless. But I think it's going to give me a good comparison because I'll be able to compare what it's like weight-wise and time-wise as far as a lap time with tubes and without. Now, in this comparison that I'm doing, I'm going to right now focus on speed and how the bike feels as a cross-country bike. But the more I ride it, the more I'm feeling like it can make a really awesome hardtail trail bike. I feel the bike is geared a little bit more towards a trail bike. But I do want to see how it compares for cross-country. Not particularly because I want it to be a cross-country race bike, but how does it compare as just owning it as a cross-country bike and also as a trail bike? So are you too slow using it as a cross-country bike, or can it kind of blur the lines and fill both bills, so to speak? So as I get further into these tests, I will be talking more about the fun factor of the bike and how the 275 Plus tires fit into the mountain biking world as far as trail, cross-country, and just overall as a fun bike. So today I'm going to get out and do 2 cross-country sections. One is my normal loop that I do, and then I'll do another loop after that. If you're familiar with San Velasco, I'll be doing a section of Tongue Nut and then Conquistador. Conquistador is very hilly, obviously not long climbs or descents, but it's constantly up and down, not very much flat section at all on that trail. So I'll do both laps today on the Plus bike, and then tomorrow I'm going to do the exact same thing on my Niner RKT RDO and see how those times compare. 275 Plus versus 29 cross-country showdown starts now. The Plus bike, here we go. Don't worry, Niner, you'll get your chance tomorrow. Be patient. All right, rolling up to the start line on the 275 Plus. I'll get a rolling start, and I'll just get bits and pieces of this course on the GoPro. Might get a little bit more on the second course since I've recorded this one before. All right, time to suffer. So section number 1 for today, that's the loop that I did a few days ago when I compared the 275 Plus and 29. 14:18 on that. That's actually 3 seconds faster than I did it on my 29er the other day. But the deal is, it's a lot drier and faster today. It was kind of mushy before, soil was slow. So I'm not going to put a lot of weight into that. The real test is going to be tomorrow when I get back out on the 29. So 14, 18, the corners felt absolutely incredible on this bike. I just can't say enough of how you can slam corners on this bike. So I'm gonna rest for a few minutes and then go do section number 2. All right, I'm gonna do a slow rolling start for this one. And by the way, I am wearing my heart rate monitor today, so I'm gonna have heart rate data for these laps. Here we go. All right, 12:59.81. I don't know if you saw it right in that last little corner. There was something sticking out like a broken off tree. I had to scrub my speed super quickly to make that corner. And dude, on this bike, you apply the brakes, there is no skidding. The bike just like slows down or stops. It's crazy. You can brake so late in the corners on a plus bike. And you know what? When you slide this bike, it's so predictable. There's not like that feeling I used to get on standard tires where it's like, oh crap, that was close, almost went down. Never had a moment on this bike. All right, so 12:59.81. It's been a long time since I've done this loop on my 29er. So I don't know what the comparison is at all, but we'll find out tomorrow. All right, signing off for today. All right, time to test the 29er. That's my horrible Australian accent for all of my subscribers in the land down under. All right, here we go. It's deja vu. Okay, 29er time. Probably gonna be kind of weird getting back on this thing. So here's my RKT9. I didn't really show it up close earlier. And I did flip the stem, so I had it kind of negative, so it was more straight. After being on my plus bike, I realized that I was pretty low on this bike. It felt oddly low after getting off that plus bike. The plus bike set up more of a trail bike. So I put the stem back up, put the handlebars up a little bit. Time to roll. So remember the day when 29ers felt slow and sluggish and the tires looked huge? A lot has changed recently. This bike feels like an absolute rocket. I'm having to remind myself to be cautious in the corners after being on that plus bike for 4 days. This is the first time back on this bike in about 5 days, but it feels so fast. And the tire that used to look so big looks absolutely puny compared to that plus tire. All right, so yesterday's time was 14, 18. We'll see what it is on the 29er. By the way, flipping the stem back around to the normal position feels really good. Riding position feels more comfortable. A little bit less weight on the front wheel, but I think the comfort is better. All right, here we go. Right her back. Thank you. Oh, those corners. You got to be more cautious. Hey, good, how are you? All right, so that time was 13:50, 28 seconds faster than the Plus bike. Oh, tell you what, this 29er feels like it's in its natural habitat when on railing a cross-country course. Adjustment didn't take as long as I thought it would on this bike. You know, there are a couple corners where I felt like the tire started to slide and, you know, it just jumps out on you a little bit and you got to bring it back in control. That kind of stuff doesn't happen on the Plus bike. So I'm going to cool down and then I'm going to do section number 2. See how that goes. All right, rolling up to the second section. This is called Conquistador, like I said yesterday. Definitely the more hilly trail out here. And yesterday I was just a hair under 13 minutes on the Plus bike. So we'll see what this one does. All right. Slow rolling start like yesterday. Here we go. All right, 12:33 on that one, so about 26 seconds faster on this bike. I actually expect a little bit more because of all the hills. This thing climbs like a goat. I'm gonna get back home and summarize my times and everything and how I felt on the bikes and my heart rate. So I'll pick it back up there. So I want to wrap up this video with a real quick synopsis of how the bikes did, how they felt. I said quite a bit on the trail, so I'm not going to go too much into the ride characteristics, but as far as the times, on section number 1 on the Plus bike on the first day, I had a 14:18 with an average heart rate of 165 and a max heart rate of 175. On that same section on the next day on the RKT9, I had a 13:50, so that was 28 seconds faster, with an average heart rate of 170 and a max of 180, so about 5 beats higher both on the average and the max. The temperatures were a little bit higher the second day, so I don't know if that caused the heart rate to go up, or maybe there's some variability in the heart rate monitor, but I felt about the same. I didn't feel like I gave it any more on the RKT9 than on the Plus bike. On section number 2, on the first day on the Plus bike, I had a 12:59 with an average heart rate of 166, a max of 177. On that same section the next day on the RKT9, I had a 12:33, so 26 seconds faster, with an average heart rate of 167 and a max of 178. So in section 2, the heart rates were about the same. So I actually feel like the Plus bike kind of held its own against the cross-country bike. It didn't get obliterated by the cross-country bike, that's for sure, but the cross-country bike was definitely faster. So I feel like overall, on a cross-country course, your 29er full suspension or 29er hardtail with standard tires is going to be faster. Now obviously the more climbing that's involved, I think the bigger gap you're going to see. You're going to see the cross-country 29er be faster. If you're in a mountainous course and you have really long climbs, you're really going to be able to make up time on the cross-country 29er. Now, you'll have a blast on the Plus bike on the descents, absolutely. But the weight of the tires, I think, is going to slow it down on the climbs. So it's climbing and accelerating where I felt like the 29er really had the advantage. And the course that I did required a lot of accelerating. So you're going in the corners and accelerating out. And the climbs weren't long, but there were a lot of them. Some of them you had to get out of the saddle and crank kind of hard. So that's where I felt like the 29er really had the advantage. I really think the gnarlier the terrain, so if it's rocky, rooty, muddy, wet, that's where the Plus tires are going to start to have more of an advantage. So that extra weight that you're carrying, I don't think is going to play as much into it if you require a lot of traction, whether it's cornering traction or whether it's climbing traction. That's where the Plus tires really have that advantage. So still a lot of testing to be done with these bikes. I'm going to focus on cross country for a few more weeks. I'll put the 29er wheels on the Giant XTC. We'll see how those do. I'll take out the tubes. We'll see if that makes the bike any faster. And then a little bit later on, I'm going to start to focus on the bike as more of a trail bike, because the XTC Plus can be a cross-country bike, it can be a trail bike. It really blurs the lines, and it depends on how you have it set up, and it also depends on the type of terrain you're riding in. So, and I think we're due for a comparison of the XTC Plus and the Giant Trance. So if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel so you can get the latest updates of the videos that I put out on the Plus bike. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Thanks for watching.